Sparrows. Hello, Sparrows. I am Valerie Miller of T.V.M, the Valerie Miller Double Fold. This very moment you have opportunity to change. And today is Matters of the Heart Monday. Matters of the Heart Monday, and we have a fabulous guest with us tonight, Debra Price of Priceless Productions, and she's a gospel vocalist as well. Topic is going to be coming from How I Became Fabulous and a Lady All the Time. That's chapter 42, Consciousness and Unfinished Business. Unfinished business. How many of us have unfinished business? Yes. Good evening, Whittington still. Hi, Leighton Simmons. And do you hear me out there? We need more volume. Is that what you're saying, Whit? I am at the top of my volume. John Hollis, welcome to the room. Can you hear me now, Whittington? Can you hear me now? Like I said, we're coming from chapter 42. I'll just project. Chapter 42, Unfinished Business, tonight. And for whatever my bookmark has been here lately, thanks, Whit, it's my baby picture. It's purpose behind this baby picture. It's going to be in book number 2. I am. I accept me. Yes. Being brave, being bold, and being fierce. Book number 2. Have I finished it yet? Absolutely not. I haven't. I have to be motivated to write, and I haven't been just that here lately because life happens, and as life continues to happen, I'm grateful to be a part of it, number 1. But at the same time, it'll be finished when it's supposed to be finished. That's how I'm going to look at that, okay? However, with unfinished business, that's a part of number 1. Yeah, and I'm only going to read just the quote that I have for that because unfinished business can go in so many directions. As far as me, what I was talking about was losing Nicholas, my son, and how I changed. But there was unfinished business. And that unfinished business will be resolved. You'll see the resolve in book number 3. It's been some juiciness to take place in my life in the past year that is unbelievable to myself. So it'll be unbelievable to you as well. I'll just give you a hashtag, Nicholas's father. That's all I'm going to say about that. If you read number 1, you would have a peep in the window when it comes to that with unfinished business, right? So the quote I'm going to read is owning our story and loving ourselves through that process is the bravest thing that you'll ever do. It's brave to accept that you have unfinished business and then doing something about it, right? Now that quote came from Brene Brown. Taking ownership of your story. How many of you have actually taken ownership of your story, what it looks like today? Have you? Have you even thought about it? Have you masked it? Have you put it away? Have you done that? A lot of us do. And when I speak about myself, hi Veronica Morris, Jerica Mortson, that has at one point been the case until I realized while writing this book of unfinished business and rectifying things within myself, which brings about number 2 because it's 3 parts to this story. Yeah, this is the truth of it all. Number 2 is the acceptance of it all. And number 3 is the love lessons of it all. Okay? And it's going to get a bit juicy. Not all coming from the book tonight because, as I said, unfinished business looks different to each of us. And when we have that, it's important that we do what we have to do to fix those situations, right? So without further ado, we're going to have Debra Price. And like I said, she's a gospel vocalist coming from Alabama. She's also a music producer as well. So she has been someone I'm grateful to have met, and she's going to add a little flavor to tonight's segment, right? So that's what we're going to do. Hi, Junior. Welcome to the room. Do myself as well as you and your followers on your pages, if you'd go ahead and forward, share this live, because somebody somewhere needs to hear what we're talking about, right? And so what I'm going to do is give Debra a call, because if you've noticed my timeline over the past hour or two, you see where the mini commercials all but went AWOL. For whatever reason, Debra could not connect to the live. So I pulled the trump card on it, and it's going to be a video and an audio call tonight. So what I'm going to do is give Debra a call. She's going to join us, and we're going to get this conversation started. How about that? Did you have a great Easter? Did you all have a great Easter? I did make the announcement earlier that I have another great nephew. He was born on yesterday, Resurrection Sunday, an Easter baby. So Aiden Vernon, my brand new nephew, great nephew that is, was born to my niece Erica and her husband, Rashad Vernon. So I am thrilled to have a brand new baby. Yeah, another booba dupe to my list of amazing nieces and nephews. And guess who we have on the phone? We have Debra Price on the phone. So I'm going to put Debra. Hi, Debra.
Hi.
Hi. Can you all hear Debra very well? I have her extremely close to the microphone of my iPad. So you should not miss one breath of what she has to share, okay? Hi, Deb. Welcome to the room and to T.V.M.
Thank you so much.
Yay. Thank you, Whittington. But you know what, Debra? You know, it's two ways of skinning cats. I know that sounds gross. But it's other ways of rectifying solutions. Let's say that.
Right.
When it comes to things not working out the way we expect them to work out originally, because it's always another way around that, right?
Right.
Yeah. So I gave a little bit of a glimpse of who you are, where you're from, and why don't you do the remainder? Share with us who you are, where you're from, how you came to be Debra Price, the gospel vocalist.
Praise God. Well, first I want to say hi, everybody, and thank you so much for this opportunity. My sister Valerie, I'm very, very appreciative. A little bit about me. I'm the third oldest of 10 children. My mom and dad has 6 sons and 4 daughters. We all sing or play an instrument, and I play nothing, so I let my voice speak for me when I, the opportunity presents itself. Mm-hmm. I've always enjoyed singing. I've always loved to sing, and it's always been inspirational gospel songs and music that I've always been attracted to. But mainly at the time that I was doing it at a young age, I was doing it for my mom and my dad to get their satisfaction and make them happy.
Oh.
But once I got married and went through some tests and trials, the death of one of my daughters, and living in a shelter for battered women, I moved to Birmingham 3 weeks after burying my daughter, one of my daughters, and while Miracles is my daughter that's still here with me. Angel went home to be with the Lord back in 93. And I know that's 25 years ago. Yes. But at that time, I had a 5-year-old son and he was really having a hard time with the separation of his dad and I. We lived in a shelter for battered women in Birmingham, Alabama. I came to Birmingham because that's where Miracle was, my daughter Miracle, the fraternal twin. And at that time, she had 3 doctors at Children's Hospital telling me that she wasn't going to make it either. Now, I was in my early 20s, getting ready to go through a divorce, or at that time, separated. Really didn't know if I was on a divorce because divorce was not something my family believed in. No. And at that time, I didn't either.
Most people don't. Coming from the background.
Yeah. I mean, think about it. My mom and dad been together for, I don't know, forever. And even though they separated when they fell out with each other, but they always got back together and produced more children.
10 kids.
So, but as far as divorce go, I was the first, and that was a big disappointment to my family, and not just them, to me too, because I never wanted to be a single parent.
Right.
And at that time though, it was just something that had to happen. For the sanity, the peace, because I had to understand that if a person don't love you and they don't want you, don't force yourself to stay with somebody that's not going to treat you, as good as God treats you.
That's
love
the
you
truth.
so much that He would send His only Son for you.
Right.
He died for you.
Right.
And at that time, that's not the young man that I was married to. But the backstory on that is because we didn't know each other. My mother was so very overprotective of her girls. And my oldest sister got out without being married. So my mom made a promise, this one will not that won't happen to you and the last 2 girls. You're going to either get married out or you're going to go to college. Well, I was just not into school. And my mother and her best friend, knew her best friend nephew. They introduced him to me, and we started dating. Okay. We dated 3 months and got married.
Wow!
So we didn't know each other, and it was just a whole lot of things going on. He was young. He was 24. I was 19. I was not pregnant, but he did have a young lady in another state that was pregnant with his child.
Oh,
that
Debra.
He didn't tell me about.
Oh, he didn't tell you about that?
No, and this is one of the questions I made sure I asked. Do you have any kids? He said no. And I guess at that time he didn't because she was pregnant. He wasn't here yet.
Wow.
I can laugh about it now because I can really say after all these years, God gave me a clear understanding of hey, this is how I heard it in my spirit. You have a choice. You can be bitter or better. I went years being bitter with my ex-husband. It didn't do me any good. All that caused was health issues for myself.
Exactly.
I was bitter with everybody. I mean, I didn't discriminate. I didn't like male or female.
You took a hiatus. I get that. It happens, especially when you have chosen to marry somebody. They've deceived you on the front end, going in, was not honest, lied to your face. So it's easy to have some bitterness. However, at the same time, when you harbor those types of feelings and animosities toward other people, we all know the outcome. Like you said, you get sick, you're bitter, you don't come across well to other people. But it also equates to what our topic is for tonight: unfinished business.
Mm-hmm.
You see? Mm-hmm. Consciousness and unfinished business. So consciousness is meaning that you're aware of it. However, you have to choose, like you said, to be bitter or better. And you decided in the end to be better, although you were bitter for quite a while.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. And on top of that, when you're angry and bitter, it shows on your face.
It does.
I mean, you look older. In my 20s, I look so much older than I do, and I'm so not near 20. It's like you're getting another chance to make it right.
That's
true.
I
really am. I'm so very grateful for that because a lot of my classmates are not here now. Mm-hmm. A lot of them are not still in this world.
Right. Unfortunately. So, it's a choice. I mean, we choose. the direction we go in. Sometimes consciously, and then there are other times subconsciously. Like for me, it was subconscious. I wasn't aware of what I was doing. I wasn't aware that, you know, the decisions that I was making, the relationships that I chose for myself, even though they were not bad, they were not the best ones for me. And I heard you mention that. Also, it's like, it's easy to do. They're very easy to get into, extremely hard to get out of, because you accustom yourself to those particular individuals and you become a part of who they are. But sometimes you're startled into those things. You mentioned that you had babies, you had twins, Miracle and Angel. Miracle is still here. You know, Angel went home to be with God. I can relate to that. That's where my whole story, the whole basis of how I became fabulous and the lady all the time came from. It was because of Nicholas's passing and having plans for your child. And all of a sudden you go through a full-term pregnancy, and then at the end of it, you lose your child. That is enough to spin anybody into a rabbit hole or into a space that you may not recognize.
Exactly.
You know?
And then on top of that, you know, the more you, as a mother, carrying your baby in your body. Now, I can say this because I didn't see Angel when she was alive. She only lived 3 days. But by the time I was released from the hospital in a whole nother city, and we drove to Birmingham to see her, her little body was so bruised up from them trying to keep my daughter alive. For me, you know, and you know, as a mom, you feel guilty.
Right.
And all kind of thoughts go through your mind. Right. You know, that, oh my God, look what I've done. But you know what really blessed my heart and helped me to understand this? Once I got an understanding of, Debra, you don't lose a child. You don't lose a parent. You don't lose a person. When you lose something, you don't know where it is. Right. Well, my Angel is not lost. My Angel went back home to heaven. I believe there's a heaven. Like there's a hell. I believe there's a heaven. Right. I believe there's joy there. And I believe that my daughter, her spirit is back there, because the spirit man never dies. So when our earth suit hits that ground, you know, it goes back to where it came from. It's dirt. But that soul man, that spirit man lives forever. So my daughter's not lost, and your son is not lost. That took a load off me, because for a long time, I was blaming myself, and that was another reason I had so much anger in my heart. I was blaming myself and blaming my children's dad. But once I got an understanding, he was young. He was sort of, my mother was a little short bully lady. She really was. She was such a short, gun-toter Christian woman. But if she felt like you were getting over on her daughters, you know, me and him was playing around with each other and got caught, and my uncle told my mom, they in the car kissing and doing all this and that, and my little short mom at 5'3", she bullied him. Hey, you touched my daughter? And he's like 6'2", you know, he's like, yeah. And I'm just being real. And my mom said, oh, you will marry her. You will not play around with my daughter. And this is what's so amazing. Out of fear, I was like, oh my God, she's going to kill me. I'm going to marry him.
Yes, but was that the right thing, you know, because that was the mindset of some parents, you know, back then, and looking at that, you know, from different angles, you know. And I know you said that, you know, you didn't lose your daughter and that you're looking at it not as a loss. I know to be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord, of course. We all know that. However, at the same time, I look at it for me as it was a loss, because it was preparation for that. God don't make mistakes. No, that is what I always held on to. That is what got me through 99.9% of the time. However, when I say loss, it's the loss of all the things that didn't occur, that were planned for. It was those things. And then to lose not once, not twice, but 3 times. And to be at 50 today. This past Saturday was April 20. Nicholas would have been 26 years old. So that's 26 years of a life that wasn't a part of mine. But at the same time, I know where he is. I know who he is and that he's with God. He just wasn't with me. And it takes acceptance to let that go. And when you, in your mind, feel that you have accepted it and you have moved on, you know, it makes it a little bit crystal clear when you are in that mindset. But then years later, you realize that you really haven't. You haven't let that go, because it hasn't been one loss, it's 2 and 3. You still had Miracle.
You'll never forget. You're a mother. You'll never
Oh,
forget
I'm
that.
always a mother. I'll never forget that. I'm not bitter. I've never been bitter. I'm grateful, because if it wasn't for his loss, I wouldn't be who I am today. So that's where the gratitude comes in at the same time, and grateful because I know where he is and who he's with. That's where the peace comes in. However, at the same time,
when that first happened to me, and at the same time, I'm running back and forth to the hospital to see how Miracle's doing and if Miracle's going to make it.
Right.
And how she had to have a heart operation through her back because she was 1 pound and 13 ounces and couldn't keep anything down. When I tell you, my daughters, look, I didn't know this until the doctors explained it to me. They thought I was on drugs. My girls were so small. I had them 3 months early. But the thing I wanted to say was, I almost lost my mind.
Yes.
Listen, when you constantly thinking about, you know, what's going on, and you're trying to figure out how in the world can I fix this, and then being you know, I'm going to say a woman,
right.
you want to fix everything and everybody.
It's easy.
I finally come to the understanding the marriage is over. That's not going to happen. But I do want my children. I want my children. Right. Well, for years, Valerie, mentally, I was so tore up mentally. My mom is a twin. My mom and her sister are fraternal twins. They're just like Danny DeVito and Arnold Schwarzenegger, right? My mom's a little short, petite one. My auntie's the big, tall lady. Yeah. They look nothing alike, all right? But that hurt my mother. Out of 10 kids, I'm the one that get pregnant with twins. Nobody else has done that up to this day in my family. I mean, it's weird. So my mom was hurt. She was so very hurt over that. So I'm trying to figure out what in the world is happening here. At the same time, I'm living in a shelter for battered women. Now, when I finally bought my first house, well, no. Before I bought the house, I lived in a transitional house, and my daughter couldn't live around other people. So they moved us from the back of the line to get transitional housing, meaning we had our own spot, we had our own place in an apartment-like house. And the only thing I had to share with people was that house, but we didn't see each other. We had our own apartment. We had our own this and that, our own lines. Everything else, I paid my utilities. Right. Everybody paid their own. Right. Well, the thing on that, I didn't understand how for years, I was, every year, celebration time for my daughter's birthday, I would, listen, this is going to sound crazy. I would leave a plate out when we celebrated, and the cake would always say Miracle and Angel, or Angel and Miracle, and I would leave a seat, you know, we sit at the table, had a birthday party, people coming up, and you know, and to somebody that you know, it looks crazy. Okay, listen, this is what was going on with my mind. In my mind, I'm thinking, if I don't do this, it's like I'm forgetting my daughter. It's like I'm throwing her away, you know, like I got to remember her. No, I thank God that this one lady finally came up to me, and she said to me, and she wasn't being rude, she said, Debra, it's like you're idolizing your daughter. She said, Debra, she's in heaven. She said, you really got to let her go, because this is not even fair to Miracle. Right. Even though Miracle loved her twin, but Miracle was like, this is my day. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Okay, when I asked God to help me, and I'm telling you, I broke down, and it hurt so bad, because I'm like, how can I not think about Angel? You still think about your child, but at the same time, I had to let go so I could live. You know?
Have to live.
Because I wasn't living. Yeah. I had boxes of my daughter's, you know those cute little boxes you buy in the store, and you put all these little whatnots in? Yeah. I have one for Miracle and Eddie, but I also had the burial one for Angel. And that wasn't good. That wasn't good. Mentally, it was messing with me. But once my daughter and I, and this is so weird, because this was like after I had got married, I was divorced. I was single for 15 years after my divorce.
Okay.
He got married the next year.
Of course.
I was angry. I was angry.
Well, you were not over that then.
No, I am now, but
now, but not then.
I didn't want back. I didn't want backwards. X mean X. I didn't want to go backwards, but I didn't want to marry again because I was still holding on to the fact that, you know what, Angel's dead, you know, and it's because of a man, you know, and that's not fair. Right. And even when I would try to date, I was so not nice. I was so not nice. And I remember saying, dude, you don't want to date me because I'm not gonna do right. I wasn't out going from clubbing and stuff like that. I didn't treat men right. So when God, you know, like David said, when I came to my senses,
right?
When I came to my senses, I apologized because I was really rude. And I remember a couple of brothers saying, "Listen, whatever the dude did to you, that wasn't me." And this is my small mouth to say. I said, "Hey, you lose my number quickly. That's foolish. It was me." But at the same time, when I let my daughter go,
it changes
and realized that my daughter's with me always.
Yeah.
And I started getting sense, you know. I started learning how to love me again and treating me right.
True.
And now I can say I can talk to my children's dad. I love him. I love him as a man of God. He's a pastor. He and his wife, she's an evangelist. I have no hate in my heart for him because I understand now, Deb, you gotta make sure you got your heart right. God is looking at our hearts. He doesn't care how good I can sing or if I make people cry when I sing.
It doesn't matter.
You get up and sing all day long and it's just like a big clong. It's just nothing. True. There's no love.
That's true.
I can say now I have true love for my children's dad and his wife. I have no hate in my heart for nobody. Right. And I've apologized to the people that I did because I was very mean and angry.
Well, I mean, you were in grief. I mean, grief looks differently for everybody. And that was how you coped at the time. Even with how you celebrated the girls' birthdays. You felt like you didn't want to lose, you know, your memory of Angel. So at the same time, that's what you were dealing with, even though you didn't recognize it yourself. That's some tough stuff.
Once my daughter and I went and we released all the things, the burial stuff that I had, the things from the hospital that my daughter wore, and I got that image of seeing my daughter, the bruises on her body.
That's hard.
God helped me to understand that, you know what, Deborah, when her spirit man left, she never felt that. She never felt those bruises. You know, they tried to bring her back. She didn't come back. So the bruises that's on her body, she never felt that. She was bruised up from head to feet.
That's hard to see and not something that I can say I witnessed because Nicholas was born asleep. He was stillborn. So to have that, you know, image, I couldn't imagine it. To know that she, you know, went through that at the same time, and that's how you saw her. So it would be tough to remember her in that way. And you released her by getting rid of her things. Whereas me, on the other hand, I'll never do that. I have his things, you know, because that is my memory. And every year, it's not like it's something that I do continually, because that is something that you need to have your psyche checked if you are doing that. I'll tell anybody, please don't do that. But on special holidays like his birthday, and for the first time ever in 26 years, this past Saturday, I wasn't even at home to be around his things, to go through his things, because that is the one time I go through it. I will go through his memory box because that's a connection that I have with him. And I will forever do that. It's a lock of his hair in there. I mean, his gowns are in there. Everything that memorabilia is there. And that's where it stays. It's out of sight. I put it away. I light a candle, go through it. But for the first time ever, this past weekend, I wasn't in town to do that. And I look at that as a plus. I had the conversation with my best friend last night about it. I said, for the first time, I did it. And I felt like it was time. that I not have that annual situation where I'm by myself and go through his things, right? But at the same time, when you release, you do know. You know where he is. And not once, but twice I went through it. The first time I released him by myself, and then the second time I had to release him before I could finish this book. I knew I had to do that with my family because God kindly let me know that I wasn't the only one who lost him.
Yes.
You know, so I had to go through all of that again to release him with my family. And I'm grateful that I did. And that's exactly how I began the book, talking about the release with my family and how powerful that was. So that way they can have closure as well. They loved me so much to where they didn't push the issue with me. Yes. And I chose not to have a service. I didn't want to do that. The pain was too great to have to go through again. So I had him cremated. So it was that type of thing. And when you go back over it in your mind, like I said to you moments ago, grief looks different to all of us. And the decisions we make in the midst of it, that consciousness, that alignment at the same time. And like I said on the mini-mercial earlier, book 3 is going to reveal a whole lot more when it comes to Nicholas's father, because I never mentioned him in the book. And it's reasons behind that. You know, it's a relationship that goes extremely deep and one that has been resurfaced. However, knowing these things and keeping in mind that God don't make mistakes ever, that's where the peace comes from with me. So unfinished business, even in chapter 42 of this book, I'm talking about Nicholas, but it's a number of things when it comes to unfinished and what it looks like for you and what it looks like for me. It doesn't always mean that we've lost children. It doesn't mean that there's a hurt that hasn't been rectified. That's true too. However, you have to look at what your particular unfinished business means to you and really unveil that and put it to sleep, because you could be cheating yourself on life if you don't rectify that. You know?
Exactly. And on top of that, my daughter was 16 at the time.
Right.
And nobody was at the house. All the kids were gone somewhere. I don't know where. But for some reason, it came to my attention that even after I had remarried and had said I had forgiven my children's dad and released it, now I'm remarried probably 2 or 3 years in my marriage. And this is so very true. I didn't realize I still had that feeling in my heart. And it dawned on me, Deborah. Okay, as a single parent, I don't know how anybody else felt about this, but because of the abuse, and I want to say this to young ladies and young men, because there's women that beat men as well. That, you know, just because a person hit you 1 or 2 times, that they have no right putting their hands on you. So if they did it 1 time and 1 time only, and then they just yell and scream or put you down, that's still abuse.
It sure is.
But I remember buying this bag when I got my first apartment in that transitional housing. And I didn't realize, this is so wild, that even when I got remarried, I had that same bag. And I know it was like, oh my God, divine intervention. It came to me in a way that, okay, you're still holding on to unforgiveness. I'm like, well, how in the world is that possible? Because I'm like praying, Lord, I want to make sure I'm free. And what came to me was, look behind your bedroom door. And I go in the room and I look in I'm like, oh my God, I'm still carrying that baseball bat, you know, and I'm not a violent person. I don't want to fight anybody. I would rather walk away and you go your way, I go mine.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And, but I realized that bat is there, and then it dawned on me, okay, same thing with, the box, Angel's box. And so what me and my daughter Miracle did, we went to Dollar General and bought us a balloon. And we wrote on that blank balloon, a hard balloon. She wrote on hers, I wrote on mine with a permanent marker. I released my children's dad. I released my daughter.
Right.
Because I didn't want to keep carrying that all my life. I didn't want that on my heart. I want my heart to be so free and so clear. And even when a person do something to me and I know you backstabbing me, I can truly say, you know what, I forgive you. That doesn't mean I'm going to hang out and be going out with you.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? We can be sisters and speak to each other if you go your way, but at the same time, I'm not going to keep on letting you step on me and hurt me. But at the same time, I want my heart to clean and clear to where when I say I forgive you, I mean it from my heart. If you need me, I'm going to do something that if I can help, I'm going to do it.
Exactly.
When my daughter and I wrote that out, I release you. I forgive you. I release you. And when I wrote on mine about Angel, my daughter cried when she wrote about Angel, releasing Angel, and you know, forgiving her daddy and me. She had some pent up things in her. And we released and we went outside away from any trees or any power lines, and we released our balloons. Just like when the word says, cast your cares on me because I care for you. Right. So we set that together. We said, Lord, we cast this on you because it's too heavy for me. I can't carry this any longer. And I know Angel's with you. I forgive my children's dad. And whatever my daughter said, we released it. We cried. We held each other. We sitting outside. And we let go of Angel. And I told her, babe, I got to let go of Angel's box. And she said, I understand, Mom. Angel's in heaven. She's fine. She's fine. Angel's in heaven. She's where we got to go. You know? Exactly. So we both was able to release and let go. And when I tell you it was such a load taken off my body.
Oh, I know. Trust me.
Not just my shoulders.
Yeah.
I'm talking about my spine, my head,
soul,
my heart.
Everything. It's everything. Because once you let that go, it's to the point of where you become new all over again. Because you've carried it for so long. It's a layer of clothing that is invisible. And it's a weight, a burden, constant. It really is. And once you let that balloon go, you let it go. It was hard. Even with the release of the balloons, because I released balloons the first time. Many years later, at least 20 years later, I released with the family as well. And it was the most beautiful thing. And when I tell you the power and to know His Spirit was there, He was there. And for the family to be able to synchronize and feel it and witness it, onlookers witnessed it, and I wrote it to the best of my ability in the book. I wrote it because it was that is something that I can say impossible on. It was impossible for me to write it the way it happened. Yes. You had to be present. Perfect strangers witnessed that. They stopped what they were doing to participate in that. And it's a great story behind it. And it made my heart, and it did it good. And I know it's going to be a third time to do it because I have to do it with His Father also.
Yes.
And that's going to have to happen because he was excluded completely.
Yes.
And that was me that did that. So it's taking ownership, like the quote that I said. You have to take ownership. Yeah, and it takes time to do that. But when in your mind you feel like it has been done, it reveals in other spaces of your life, like relationships. And you were saying how you went through all of the things that you went through. I didn't have those experiences. I mean, I had relationships. I just didn't commit to them. I refused to commit to them. And there were some great guys. And the majority of them, they were wonderful, just not for me, because I wouldn't accept them as such because of unfinished business with Nicholas's father. That's where it all, at the end of the day, that's where it all came from. Love can have you do things, or somebody that's in your life that you care so much for. You have a way of burying those feelings. You take them and you put them on a shelf because you have to make decisions according in your life at those times. And it's not saying that it's a bad thing or not. It's what you were capable of deciding at the time.
Yes.
So as we grow and we understand and learn who we are, that's when we can make different decisions. I won't say better. I'll just say different decisions. Because when you're only capable in a particular space, that's all you're allowed to do at that time. And like you were saying, how you forgave the baby's father. At the same time, I forgave them, and you're correct. I'm not hanging out with you. I forgive you, and I understand. But this is permanent. I wish you well. I wish the best for you, because it's not for us to be friends, because we've been there. I forgive you, and I had to forgive myself.
Right.
I had to forgive myself because it's things that I'm saying in the back of my mind, I wish I had done different. If I had done that different, then this wouldn't have happened. And all of those ifs will drive you nuts.
Yes,
you can't do that. So in that place of forgiving, be sure to forgive yourself and thank those individuals for being a part of your life, because if it wasn't for them, you wouldn't have had any of those experiences that grows you to become who you are at present.
And it makes you a better person.
It does.
Once you choose to release it.
It does.
Because we are in life, I don't care what's going on in our world, because we all have tests and trials. Mm-hmm. We have a choice.
Right.
We can be bitter or we can be better. And
Always better.
It's easy to say, but sometimes it's hard to do. But if we could just find in our hearts to forgive that person, because truly they don't know what they're doing. Right. My ex-husband would say to me, Deb, I made such a big mistake, and I agree with him. Yes, you did. But at the same time, I wish you the best with your marriage. I want the best for you and your wife.
Yes.
You know, I can say that and really mean it. That blesses my heart. That makes me feel good. Hey,
you
Deb,
better believe
you're finally maturing.
Yes. And you be grateful for that. You know? They served their purpose for the time they were supposed to be in our lives at those times. And there are some times when it comes back full surface and full circle when you have to have those conversations of what took place back then and how it would affect you in the present. And that's when you can say, you know what, I'm good now. And I'm grateful that you're good too. So, and then look at it for what it is. Like I said, the choices that are made, it doesn't substantiate or revolve around the decisions you made then. But when you reflect back on your life and you see the choices that you made, when you see how you lived your life, you're living in plain sight. However, just as dead as a doorknob. You are. You know, you have, and I know I literally, Valerie, as I was then, when he died, I died. Literally. So I'm just living every day, existing a great life, just having a wonderful life. Had nothing to complain about, really. Just missing my child, missing my children at this point, plural. So to go through it not once, twice, 3 times. And I always say it's power in 3. The Trinity is 3. And to know where they are, that's all 3. At the same time, I'm also loving who I've become because of their loss. And to have wisdom to know that I've grown to the point to know that is what it is. I wouldn't be who I am today if they were here. And if one had been here, then possibly the other 2 wouldn't have been. So you look at what life could have been like, but it's no guarantee because it didn't happen that way. It didn't happen that way for a purpose. So you don't question it. And looking at, you know, the foundation, you know, that I've launched this past year, it's always been there, but it's just bringing it to surface now. And it took 25 years to bring it. So Rainbows is for families who have suffered going through having to release their children. It doesn't matter how they left this world. So that's what Rainbows mean. And it's something that, you know, I'm planning for October this coming year that is hopeful. It's going to be something that's going to help heal hearts. And that's what I feel it's meant to do. Because a lot of people continue to carry around, they bury things. And then, you know, you have individuals that go out and they continue to have children to try to mask the hurt of the first one having been gone. Or they get into these abusive relationships. Or you go out and you're just promiscuous. You know, it's things, it's behaviors. And so to avoid judging, when I hear somebody say something along those lines or talking about somebody, and I wrote about it in the book again, True Kind Necessary. Is it true? It could be. Is it kind? Possibly not. But is it necessary to even judge somebody else? No, it's not. Right. Because you don't know how they got there. You don't know what their life story is. Right. And sometimes it takes asking the question in order to have clear understanding of what that person's life looks like. Right. Rather than assuming. It
And then
goes deep.
I'm sorry. You think about it. You know what? This is so amazing because our tests and trials in this life, it makes us stronger. There's some people who, I remember on my job when I worked for the insurance company, this young girl said to me who has never had a child. She didn't want children, her husband. Her husband had a child with his first wife, but she never wanted kids. But I remember her saying, she said, Deborah, if that would have happened to me, I probably would have committed suicide. And I'm like, wow. She said, how could you handle burying your child and then going to a shelter and then you're not stripped up? I'm like, I thank God that he gave me strength.
Yeah.
There are people who can't handle, and when you give them your testimony, you want to encourage them and build them up to say that, you know what, you can make it. Don't take your life. It will get better.
And don't even estimate that you would. Don't put that over yourself because you don't know how you're going to handle it until you're in the midst of it.
Exactly.
You can't say what you would do until you're in it. And once you're in it, I can only pray that you are strong in your faith because that's what it's going to take for you to get through it. Hand over fist. To have and know that you have a higher power that can give you and sustain you to get through this thing. Because when he states he don't give you more than you can handle, he really don't. And even as hard as that sounds, you'll be amazed at what you can get through. You really would be. You'll be amazed. And you know what, Deborah? There are comments coming in. And I haven't read any of them because this is kind of juicy. But at the same time, let's just carry on. But like I said, when circumstances happen in your life, because we can't pick and choose the direction our life goes in. We can't pick and choose who we fall in love with. We can't, we can choose who we marry, but you have to look at the reasons why you married that person. What put you in the position to marry this person? And I think back for my own, I was 35 and was just ready. And I said to myself, I knew he loved me more than I loved him. And I knew that. And he knew that too. But at the same time, I said he has potential. And just for me to even think about the word potential now, or if I hear somebody else say the word potential about another person, I cringe. I cringe when I hear it, because either they are good for you or they're not. And if you can say that they're not, don't do it. That's what I'll say to that. Do not do it. Because it's going to end up in divorce. It's inevitable. It's inevitable.
You think about our young girls, and that's one of the reasons the music, the CD is the way it is. Because when I was singing out, the songs were coming to me, it was coming to me at a time when I was going through my own tests and trials. Even in the second marriage now, you don't think, even though I was single for 15 years and got remarried, I still had my tests and what in the world did I get into? But even with that, my husband has 6 children. He has 5 sons and 1 daughter.
Okay.
I have 1 daughter and 1 son. So in my mind, it was almost like, I'm like, oh wow, I get another chance to have 2 daughters again.
Right.
And that when I tell you, so much mess got caught up in the spirits of division and spirits of bringing, adult people bringing jealousy and bitterness and division between children. Well, we know the real enemy is invisible. We don't see him. But at the same time, at that time, I was going through so much and trying to make people gel and get along, and my children were so excited to try to, be with the family. And when I tell you that was such a spirit that was pulling this away from it, I tell you what, that was so much pressure. But at that time, songs came to me, and especially for young girls, I love to minister to women and young girls. And that was one of the songs you and I talked about was "Can You Love Me to My Soul?"
Oh gosh, I love that.
That song came to me because at that time, Miracle was about 17 and getting ready to go to a prom.
Uh-huh.
And Joanna, my husband's daughter, was my new daughter was about, let's see, she was 17, 16, 15. She was about 14 because my daughter's 3 years older. And at that time, you know, my girls wanted to start dating, and I'm like, oh my Lord, I wasn't ready.
Mm-mm.
This young boy was hugging up on my daughter and touching her like, I'm like, dude, when you married my daughter, you didn't even invite me. What's this? I'm her like that, you know? I was having issues. My daughter would not let me be like my mother and force her into marrying. I would have if she let me. I really probably would have. But, because, you know, some guys nowadays, a lot of them, some of them, most of them, a great deal of them are out to just get one thing. And the young girls are they're being treated so badly to where they're treating themselves like they're nothing, you know?
Right.
So that song is saying, can you love me to my soul? Can you love me enough to not take advantage of me and try to get in between my legs, you know?
Right.
You know, nowadays we're talking about hooking up or what's the other word they call it? Can we just connect or something?
Honey, I don't know about that.
We just don't hit it.
But you know what? It's
no
true.
Strings attached.
Yes. It's no strings attached. But the sad part of the whole outcome of that is these young girls, and not all young girls, these are full-grown women that are accepting that.
Exactly.
And that's where I question, what is your mindset? Why are you settling for this? Do you even know who you are?
No, because they're balancing themselves to what the TV is telling them. I mean,
Exactly.
I've had some older ladies in the church. One lady said to me, Debra, stop getting up saying that song is just for young people.
No, it's
she
not.
Said, her husband left her. They late 60s. She told me her husband left her for a younger woman, and some of the brothers in the church is trying to do just what them young boys are trying to do.
Yes.
I was shocked.
It's embarrassing. That is embarrassing that you have adults, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and on, that act like teenagers. All of the texting, a lot of things that's going on, you know, behind the scenes. And, you know, they're married and still pursuing single women. It goes in every direction that you can possibly think of. And the sadness is the women are accepting it. That's the problem in all of this. They're accepting it rather than valuing themselves enough to know that you're greater than that.
Yes.
You're greater than that. But that's where brokenness and bruises are reflecting itself. And being a conscious lifestyle strategist myself and talking to a lot of young and older women, they've lost the identity of themselves.
Yes.
They don't know who they are and accepting all of this abuse and keep wondering why. Well, to answer your question, you allow it.
Yes.
And your life is
I allowed it.
Yeah.
I mean, I allowed the abuse, even if it was just talking down to me.
Right.
That's still abuse.
Stop it when it starts.
We've all
The
been
first
caught up in
time.
that.
You do. And you stop it. And I remember, you know, standing up to my ex-husband because you only have a split second. You accept abuse or you can stop the abuse before it starts.
Exactly.
You can stop it. And I remember my dad always saying to me, if a man looks like he's going to hit you or want to hit you, leave and do not look back. I remember him saying that, and I remembered it and held on to it. He also said, you're nobody's punching bag.
Exactly.
And remember who you are and whose you are. So knowing this for myself, having a conversation with my dad, knowing that my mom and I have aunties that are ridiculously strong, and being raised around that. So when that one time came, and it was only one time, that my ex-husband tried it. He tried it. But at the same time, when I saw what he was doing, I handled it. And I told him if he ever tried that again, and it's some things that you'd have to read in the book to know about.
Yes.
In book number 3, because I didn't go into detail in number 1. But number 3 is going to have a very, very vivid picture of many things that took place in my life in that particular book. But at the same time, when it happened, I let him know exactly who I was because I know who I am and what you're not going to do. Because women have a split second to even when a man, whether it's verbal or it's physical, when they come to you, if you do this at any time, you do that lean and hover, he got you. But if you decide to step up and let him know who you are, he'll back down. And that's a proven fact. And he never did it again. Because I said, if you ever try that again, what I would do. I told him. And I meant it. I meant it with every ounce of my heartbeat. I meant that.
I know you did.
I did. And he's like 6'2", and I'm just a little 5'3.5". But at the same time, I wasn't having that. That was not going to be a part of my life because I can be by myself.
You had to go through that for you to stand up and learn who you know how strong you really are.
Oh yeah, you learn who you are. Oh, you learn. You're gonna learn things about yourself you never knew about yourself.
Lord God, and then that's how we're able to help somebody else.
Right. Right.
That is awesome.
Right.
I love your testimony. I love the way your heart is toward helping others. I really believe that's one of the reasons, because there's many reasons that we're here, but that's one of them.
Right. I find joy in that because you don't have to be a victim.
Exactly.
You don't. You choose to be a victim. It's all about the grace and having your relationship. And I can't say it enough. If you don't have a relationship with God, Abba, Yahweh, Buddha, whoever you claim to be a higher power in your life, get one. Because that's what's going to sustain you and save you.
Exactly. Quickly. Wow.
Oh my gosh. Oh, it goes so deep. But at the end of the day, we become all of these things. We get caught up in these situations for a 4-letter word. And it's all about love. And the things you do and the sacrifices you make for love. And what does love look like to you? It doesn't abuse you. You know, love is what it is. It's a beautiful thing. And it's up to you to understand what it really means to you. And that's why I love your song so much. Can You Love Me to My Soul? The first time I heard that, I was like, oh my God. That is so fitting. And women, men alike, everybody needs to really listen to it. And I know you said you'll sing it for us at the end of this show. I know you did. And it really resonated with me. And I even played it again this morning. And I said, you know what topic is going to be today? Consciousness and unfinished business. Because unfinished business with me was not so much the loss of Nicholas. It went before Nicholas. It was all about, I almost said his dad's name. It was all about his father. And by him being my first love. That was my first love. And he meant everything to me. And we chose not to really pursue too much because we were so different. I'm the good girl. And he did what he had to do. Although I respect it, I knew I couldn't be a part of it. I couldn't be a part of it. So by the time Nicholas came along, then I had to make a choice. And that choice put a wedge between us for 27 years. So looking at that and how God works and bring things full circle, because I have now, in the past year, have been faced with the fact the unfinished business is with Nicholas's father. And not so much the loss of Nicholas. And it took losing him and having to share that he was now gone after all these years to make me realize it was all about love in the first place.
Right.
And how we look for it. And how badly we want it and the things we'll do for it. So when you go there, then you really unveil who you are.
Isn't that the truth?
Yeah. It does. Juicy
that is
stuff.
So good.
I know. It makes you stop for a moment.
Yeah. The main thing is forgiveness is already taken place.
Yes, it's been
That's
forgiven. Yeah. Yeah. And it was never anything hard feelings. It was just a choice of divide that I had to make. And I did it and still stand firm behind it.
It's good.
It is good.
You're good. It's a blessing. I was thinking about, and this just popped in my mind, you know, the MADD, Mothers Against Drunk Driving, when that first came out many years ago.
Yeah.
And it's a hurtful thing to happen, to cause that the mother, you know, her child being killed in a car accident years ago, and how she was able to go from there when she made up her mind, this is not going to be in vain, and start going to the different schools. And I remember, because I was a PTA president at my son's school and the PTA secretary at my daughter's school, and I was always involved in those meetings, and how she came through, even through Alabama, and how they had a car. I don't think it was the real car, but they had a car. And just like at this high school down the road, they have a matted up car that was involved in an accident, and it's to help the children understand no texting and driving. This is what could happen because that child lost their life.
Right.
You know, and you think about when we parents deal with something like that. Okay, something good has got to come out of this. Even with planting a seed, we understand that seed first has to die before a flower come out.
Right.
So we're planting seeds in our young people, and women and men at the same time. Even like when we go downtown and we sing at Lynn Park, we do this on Sunday mornings for the homeless. We do a full service outside. We teamed up with Extended Hand Alliance. We do praise and worship music. Sometimes we minister the word for about 10 minutes. But you know what? So many of those people out there, all they just need somebody to say they care. Everybody that's homeless is not homeless because they're lazy.
Yes.
And everybody's not a scammer.
Yes.
Even though we do have bad people that do stuff like that. You got some whole families outside, sleeping outside, because they're working, but they can't make ends meet.
Right.
And sometimes just hearing somebody say, you know what, I lived in a shelter for battered women.
Right.
Or I've been out. You know, we all have a testimony. It may not be the same, but we've all hit hard times at one point or another.
Absolutely. Yes. And it changes you if you can be present in it. You know, sometimes those hard times or those moments that, you know, long sufferings, if you don't recognize them as they're happening, it's impossible for you to grow in it. It's not always to hurt you. However, it's always to help you and grow you. Become who you're supposed to be. It's a purpose in all of it. And it doesn't matter if it hurts. It's all about how you respond to the pain and how you share your story with somebody else. So usually when somebody say to me, because that is what I say in my business. So they'll say, Valerie, what is it that you do as a conscious lifestyle strategist? And I always say, I introduce you to yourself. And sometimes it takes taking the mask off. It takes the layers. And that's a part of my book. My layers, my stories, my songs. You know, because it was the layers that protect me when I needed to be protected.
Yes.
What I didn't know was those layers were protections that God gave me to maneuver in my life until the realization of all that took place in my life was starting to unveil. When I started asking the questions, something is missing. Show me what is missing in order to write the book. That's when the layering started to come off. And then when I say my stories, we all have them. And like you just said, it may not be the same characters, but it's something of similarity that we all recognize within the stories. That's why they're so powerful. And I use these things. Their testimonies are what heals the heart when you share them with other people that may be going through something of similarity as what you're going through. And the songs is the whole point of this platform, because I heal to songs. It's music. And music and writing is how I cope. That's on my mechanisms. And I sing, but I haven't sung in a long time. I don't sing as a profession like you do. Like you said, your family, your siblings played instruments. Your instrument is your voice, just like my instrument is my voice.
Yes.
Sharing my stories, my testimonies to heal hearts, then knowing that's what I was born to do. This is what I was born to do. So when you align yourself with understanding why every circumstance took place in your life, is only to lead you to introduce you to yourself. Once you learn who you are, then it all makes sense, when it means that we're all one in the first place. One person healing the next person, sharing a story to get you through today, to force you through tomorrow. So by the middle of the week or at the end of your journey, you can understand the purpose in all of it. It's not to hurt you. So it took me, and losing Nicholas, he's the only one with a face. When it comes to Christian and Taylor, I never knew their sexes. But at the same time, Nicholas has a face, or he had a face. So that's why I reference so much to Nicholas. He was the one that I could hold. He was the one I carried.
Oh, yes.
You see? So that's where all that comes from. But at the end of the day, no matter what we're going through, we choose to cope with those things because of that 4-letter word, love. Love is the key in all things. And if we love ourselves the way God loves us, then we can heal ourselves by accepting who we are at the end of the day. So
I agree. That is so beautiful.
Yeah.
That is so beautiful.
That's what it's all about, and so it's not coincidence that when I talk along the mind and I talk about the heart and consciousness, that's what it is, because your heart and your mind syncs. God does look at the heart, but he gives us option of choice because of our thoughts. We are who we say we are. That brings me to the topic of book number 2, I Am. I accept me. Being brave, being bold, being fierce, because this is the person I've become because of the trials in my life. Because this is who I've become by accepting those trials as gains in my life to bless somebody else. So once you really unveil who you think you are or who you say you are, then you can stand up in your truth and represent yourself by displaying who you are every day. And that's where it all comes from. For me, that's Val's interpretation. That's what I've learned over my 50 years of life. Things come about full circle when we allow them to.
Yes, it's so true. That's so true.
Right.
That's so good.
And like I said, we've missed 1,000,001, comments. And I remember, I think it was Whittington that says, where can the Sparrows hear your music? So where can your music be found?
My music is all on Google Play, on the Debra Price Transform Me. That's the title of the sophomore album. It's Transform Me, the Soul of a Woman. Mm-hmm. Debra, Debra Price, Price, Transform Me. It's also Amazon, same thing, put in Transform Me. There's a lot of Debra Prices out there.
There is a lot of Debra Prices. I noticed that.
I'm like, wow, really? Let me find something else to try to but I'm so grateful for this opportunity, Valerie. I just want to tell you that you encourage my heart. Every time you and I do get to speak, we don't get to talk that much, but
right.
I want to say to the young women out there that, take out time to hear what Valerie is saying. It's just such a blessing because every test and trial you go through, it's going to make you better. Mm-hmm. I know that's so hard to say, but it's going to make you a stronger person, make you so much stronger than you are right now. You look back on it and you be like, wow, with the grace of God, I was able to make that.
Right. Because
there's a lot of people who are not, they're not, there's a lot, Valerie, there's people committing suicide every day.
Every day.
Life gets hard.
And I truly wish they'd call me first. I mean, I say it all the time. Like, oh my gosh, if I could have talked to that person. Oh my gosh, you know, who's their family? Who are their friends? And why didn't they see this coming? You know, it's things like that, and it's really heartbreaking. It is.
Truth be told, you can't always see what's happening. Because I've met so many people and family members. I was talking with one mother, and this happened to her son, and she, you know, there's a lot of people on medication that causes suicidal thoughts.
Right.
See, we want to think that well, that person must have had such a bad life.
No, they didn't.
No, I know a young boy that did this to himself as well, but it was because of medication.
Right.
Not because he chose to do this. We don't know what a person is going through mentally.
Not at all.
Oh, we really don't know.
And, you know, mental illness is just that. They look like me. They look like you. You know, that's what mental illness looks like now. We have a young man coming on Wednesday night, and I'm so excited about it. And that's what we're talking about, the face of mental illness today. Because it's not what we're accustomed to seeing. And medication has a lot to do with it. And it goes back to you knowing who you are and telling that doctor, no, I'm not going to take that. What's my alternative? You know, those types of things. You know, you have more power and more voice than you give yourself credit for. You don't have to take what's given to you.
Also, we can start eating healthier. If we really do research on what's being put in our food, people choose to believe the government will not, I better be careful what I say, want to believe that there are certain people out here that really care more about your health than you. If another person care more about your health than you do, that's the problem. Here.
That's the problem. That goes back to self-love, self-care. You don't have either. You don't have it. So, soul search, rediscover yourself. If you're having a problem with it, call me. I'll be more than happy to help you. But at the same time, that's it.
Okay, come on.
That's it. That's what I do. It's conscious living and being present and aware. And it starts with knowing who you are, because until you know who you are, you're making terrible decisions.
Exactly.
You're making terrible decisions, and your life is what's suffering, and you're not living in joy and peace. You're not. You're in misery every single day. So
and life
that's
is too important and too precious to live life depressed, you know, thinking you got to be in a world all to yourself.
Right.
No such thing.
Right.
Really, we are loved, and if we don't really, stop and think about it, we all are really the same. There's nobody else that was created in this world any different than we were. We all came from the earth. We all came from that same place.
Yeah.
Some people may have a permanent tan like you and I. Some people may not have a tan. But we all are the same.
One and the same. It's a purpose in one. It's all synchronized. But I'll tell you this, we can go on and on and on, but you owe us a song. But before you sing my favorite song of yours, after the broadcast, if you wouldn't mind going back and responding to the comments, because we missed so many of them, because we were just having conversation. And that's why I take my glasses off, so I don't see the comments. So we can really get the engagement going. And then I'll put my glasses back on and say, oh my gosh, okay, well, maybe, we should probably answer at least a few of these, because that's the whole point. When I say it's juicy, it's sincerely juicy. And it's so much to unfinished business. And I just want you to give yourself an assessment and think about what is or happening in your life currently or in your past that's unfinished but needs to be rectified. So discover it and fix it. And then you're going to take off some layers and some masks and realize just how happy you are because you did that. So, But if you could go back and respond to the questions and comments, I know I will. And if you could also put into the comments how the Sparrows can get in touch with you in the event they want to get in touch with you or follow you, because you have some great things coming up. And I can't wait for those things to take place.
I am so excited. I'm so excited for all of us, really.
Yeah.
I will do that. I stepped in. I'm going to, make a meal real quick. I'm going to go and check all the comments. It may be a couple of hours from now.
That's fine.
I just got to say this one thing, Valerie. I'm going right into that song.
Okay.
Because it keeps coming back in my head. If there's any of you out there also that you feel so heavy, you feel like you're having a hard time forgiving somebody, I understand. Me and Val understand. I'm telling you, we do. But at the same time, your shoulders were never built to carry it.
Right.
Your heart is too precious to the Creator for you to be overloaded with it, and then it's causing you to have heart issues. Right. I want to suggest this. If you would purchase you a blank balloon from the dollar store and a permanent marker, and just write out whatever comes to your mind of whoever you need to forgive, and you say, I'm going to cast my cares on the Creator because I can't handle this. This is too much for me. And then you go where there's no trees that's close to you, no power lines close, and release it and let it go up in the air. And visually see yourself releasing it and letting it go. If you don't want to do that, and if you're a writer, write in a notebook, journal it, and don't send it to the person. Don't do it. Don't do it. You know,
burn it.
Said some things that hurt people.
Burn it. It's just things. Again, in the book, it's things to do with it. Tear it up.
Tear it up. And now I'm going to go right into that song. I just want to put that out there because that kept pressing on me.
It's necessary to say.
When you feel like you don't have anybody, I can't talk to my sisters because they will try to judge me. I can't talk to the person at church because people we judge each other. We do that.
Always pray. Pray first. Meditate on solution, and then do that. Sincerely. Sincerely do that. Totally mention it. Yeah.
Ready?
I'm ready.
I'm not going to do the whole song, okay?
Well, don't cheat us. The least you can do is the whole song. How can you not?
I don't even know the real version. Here we go.
How can you not?
It's a jazzy song, and it goes like this. Can you love me to my soul? Can you love me to my soul? Can you love me to my soul? Can you love me while I'm holy? Oh yeah. See, while we're dating and you're trying to get to know me, can you check me out without trying to sex me? Can you get to know me? Okay, I don't forgot it that quick.
You forgot the lyric?
Yes, I don't say it that much. You will cause him on, fooling around with you will cause him my anointing. Can you love me to my soul? Can you love me to my soul? Can you love me to my soul? Can you love me while I'm holy? Yeah. Okay, y'all, you gotta get the CD.
You gotta get the CD. You gotta get it.
12 hours. Y'all forgive me for forgetting my own song.
You sang enough, they get the gist. And if I had thought about it, I would have had it queued up to play because it is one of my favorite songs. As a matter of fact, I want to see if I can pull it up real fast.
Good.
I'm going to see if I can.
I'm going to say the second verse is, I was going to have all me singing the whole thing, but a young man came up to me and he said, wait, Miss Debra, this is not just for females.
It's not.
I'm not begging on. There's girls that come and bag up on me. There's girls that try to slip their number in my hand because he's a good-looking young man. And he says, so it's not just for them, Miss Debra. So I'm like, okay, write your verse, you know? And so you got a verse for the young men who desire to do right, that's not trying to play around and make, just because a girl drops a girl, so it goes both ways.
It does. So keep talking because I think I can pull it up. But it's one of the greatest songs. And when I heard it for the first time, and I told you about it, I said when I do the excursion, you know, it's going to be something empowering. I wanted you to be there to sing that.
And what's so amazing, I know the song, but I'm trying to fix my husband meal. He came in early. Usually he has to work. They have him working over, but he came home to the house on time. I'm like, what?
Of course he would today. You know he would today. It is okay. I think I found it. I think I did. And I'm going to turn the volume up. All right, Sparrows, send some likes and loves. Let me know if you can hear it. Can you hear it? Is it clear?
I can hear it.
You can hear it?
To my soul, to my sound. Can you love me to my soul? Can you love me to my soul? Can you love me to my soul? Can you love me while I'm holy? Can you listen up? See, while we're dating and you're trying to get to know me, can you check me out without trying to sense me? Can you see the gifts in me? Do you know I'm anointed? Fooling around with you will cause my anointing. Can you love me to my soul? Can you love me to my soul? Can you love me to my soul? Can you love me while I'm holy?
Trying to be the man God called me to be, but you're busy trying to sex me. I don't think you understand. I'm trying to follow my father's plan. I'm trying to keep my spirit strong. Every time I look around, you're sexing on the phone. You know what? Girl, you're dead wrong. If you can't love me to my soul, then get on. Can you love me to my soul? Can you love me to my soul? Can you love me to my soul? Can you love me while I'm holy? Can you love me while I'm holy?
While we sing this song to you, make sure your love is true. We don't have no time for games, 'cause he's calling you too. I'm going back to my first love, 'cause that's where I'm supposed to be. So I'm asking you this question: can you love me? Tell me, can you love me to my soul? Oh, can you love me to my soul?
I can love you to your soul, I can love you to your soul. But can you love me to my soul? When the nights get cold, can you love me to my soul? When nobody's there to hold your hand, can you love me? I just wanna be your man. Can you love me?
Debra. I love this song. I love this song.
Thank you. Thank you. I can't see what to do like you. Because to play all the way through.
I had to play it all the way through. And those snaps.
Thank you. Thank you for playing that for me.
You are welcome. I had to play it because you have great tracks, period, first of all.
Thank you.
But that one really resonated. Like I told you, when I heard it, I already knew it was time to bring up unfinished business.
Yes. Yes.
It's unfinished business. And we can't live our lives having unfinished business, especially when Christ died for us to live and be happy and jovial. Easter was yesterday. So it was all in perfect alignment that you'd be here today. I didn't even think about that when we scheduled it. So that's when it goes to show things take place for us, not to us. And it was somebody somewhere who needed to hear it. Somebody will catch it in the replay. Somebody probably on the line right now. It could be 6 months, a year from now. It doesn't matter. Because it's all about healing your hearts and your soul. It's about forgiving. It's about loving wholeheartedly and unconditionally.
Yes.
Not connecting with those that are abusive and hurtful to you, but the ones who compliment you, value you, and show you the love that you deserve to have. Because when they can love you to your soul as Christ loves you, as God loves you to create you, then you should love yourself that much and more to connect with the person that's deserving of you. So that's what I took away from all that. And I thank you.
I think we all did. You worded so right. You worded so perfectly. Thank you. That's exactly the heartfelt to reach both in. Like I said, I thought it was just for the females, but the brothers chime in and say, hey.
They want it too. They do. Men want it just as badly as women. And they don't want a trifling woman. They don't want a woman that's not worthy of herself. So if you can't love yourself, why should he love you?
Ain't that the truth?
So it always starts within yourself.
That's exactly what they're trying to teach our young girls.
Right.
That you're nothing, that you know, your body's not, you know. But if we pay attention, you know, people, you know, like your show, I'm sure there's a lot of young women. I mean, I'm talking young girls. I like touching them teenage girls. Them girls,
catch them early.
12-year-olds.
Catch them early. You have to catch them early. But you need to go and spend some time with your husband. Yeah, tell him, please don't charge it to the heart. However, you were needed to touch some souls tonight. That's all. But
usually he'll call me and let me know, babe, I'm on my way home. You can go ahead and start cooking for me. But he did that. I'm like, well, maybe he knew we were on the phone trying to work some stuff.
No, it worked out perfectly. Message go in, you know, because there are some specific questions in there. Whittington is saying, who is the male vocalist? You know, giving props. So I'm sure it's going to be some others that I missed. So you'll see them whenever you go back in. Okay?
I want to say thank you to your beautiful audience. I am so grateful. I really am. You guys just don't know. And I speak blessings, love, harmony, peace, joy, prosperity, healing, and hope. And I have to say it in Jesus Christ's name. So be it.
So it is. And we all receive it, one sparrow to the other. So go enjoy your husband, you know, and I will talk to you later.
Sounds good, sis. I love you.
I love you more.
Have a good one.
Ciao, ciao.
Good night.
Good night. There you have it, Sparrows. Debra Price. Can you love me to my soul? I absolutely love that song, and it was very appropriate to have tonight. And of course, like I said, when it's a juicy conversation, it's a juicy conversation. Technology will not stop anything when it comes to T.V.M. Matters of the Heart, Wisdom Wednesdays. It doesn't matter. If I have to call my guest on the phone, then I'm going to call my guest on the phone just so you can get whatever it is that they have purpose to share during our platform, during our conversations. I think it's that important to do, and to not be discouraged no matter what happens in your life, because there are going to be surprises no matter what. And it's all about how we deal with those surprises and say, forget you. We don't have time for that. You're too good for this. So it's always an alternative to everything, and that's every single thing in life. In this very moment, you have opportunity to change, right? So whenever you choose change, you choose grace, you choose opportunities that's going to better you in your life. And that's all I'm going to say on that tonight, my Sparrows. I thank each and every one of you for joining Debra and myself tonight. And I look forward to seeing you again on Wednesday for Wisdom Wednesday. We're going to be talking about mental health and what it looks like today. So we're going to have that. So I look forward to seeing you in the room again. And whatever you do, if you didn't do it at the beginning of the broadcast, please share and share this information on your timeline so we can get the information out to those who are seeking it. Okay? And on that note, I'm going to say good night to you. Love without conditions. Always possess a positive attitude. And soar in all you do. I love you, mean it. Smooches.